The Forsaken Heir. Previous episodes are available on playlist, a link is given in the video description. Episode 5. As soon as the father-in-law and mother-in-law heard that Charlie would buy them a better one tomorrow, the two immediately laughed. The father-in-law did not know that what he had missed was a top-notch BMW 760. Claire was a little worried. After returning to the room and washing up, she quietly asked Charlie, "Do you still have money to buy a car? I still have some private money here, or you can take it and use it for purchase." Charlie hurriedly waved his hand, "No, I'm still a little bit more useful." Claire apologized and said, "I'm really sorry, I didn't expect my parents to be like this." Charlie smiled and said, "What are you talking about? Your father and your mother are also my father and mother. We are all a family, and it is right to honor them." With that said, Charlie lay on his small floor and smiled, "Don't worry, I will buy another one tomorrow morning." Claire said, moved, "Charlie, thank you." Charlie laughed, "What are you polite with me about, wife?" Claire asked him with a blushing face, "Will you not be cold at night when you sleep on the ground?" Charlie blurted out, "No, it's not cold at all, don't worry, it's all right." Claire suddenly groaned, "If it's not cold, just fall asleep." Pighead. Finally, she wanted him to sleep in the bed, but this pighead turned out to be so bad. Charlie suddenly realized at this moment that he seemed to have accidentally missed something, so he hurriedly said, "Oh my wife, it's so cold on the ground, it makes me shiver." Claire said angrily, "If it's cold, add a quilt." Hey, Charlie was immediately depressed. After a long while, he did not give up and asked, "My wife, it seems to have cooled down, I'm so cold." Claire ignored him, kicked off a quilt, and said angrily, "How cold can it be at night in summer? If it's still cold, I'll find you a down jacket to wear." Charlie was desperate, and it seemed that his wife would really not let him go to bed tonight. The next day, Claire prepared to go to work early in the morning. Charlie made breakfast for her, handed her the key to the BMW car, and said, "Let's drive to the company today." Claire couldn't help but said, "The car you bought, I drive to work, isn't it appropriate?" Charlie said, "What's wrong with this? You are my wife, and the car was bought for you, not for me." Claire nodded lightly and said thankfully, "Thank you." After speaking, she took the key of the BMW car from him. The father-in-law on the side looked envious, and blurted out, "Charlie, you said you will buy me a car, did you forget?" "I haven't forgotten it." Charlie said hurriedly, "Wait for me, I'll buy it for you. Just wait for the new car to drive back home." The father-in-law suddenly smiled and said happily, "Then I'm just waiting." BMW 530, you said it yourself, don't buy a wrong model. Charlie was amused for a while, nodded, and said, "Dad, don't worry, I will buy the BMW 530 for you today." After that, he followed his wife downstairs and pulled his little e-bike from the BMW 760 from the trunk of the BMW 760. Claire drove this BMW 760 to work, and Charlie himself rode his e-bike to the BMW 4's shop again. When he was approaching the BMW 4's store, he happened to pass by the door of the Audi store. People in the Audi store first saw him, and a salesperson blurted out, the man who bought the BMW 760 is here again riding a little e-bike. If you kneel down for him today, you still have to stop him and sell him a top-equipped Audi A8. Yes. All of a sudden, a large number of Audi salesmen rushed out and surrounded him. Sir, come to our store to see the latest top-match Audi A8. Sir, our A8 is very powerful, using a W12 engine, which is even better than the BMW 760's V12 engine. Charlie asked curiously, is it so awesome? Really? An Audi salesman hurriedly introduced, brother, let me tell you that our W12 engine can be turned off left and right. When the 12-cylinder is half off, there are 6 cylinders, which is more fuel efficient. Charlie said contemptuously, I should buy a 12-cylinder car and turned off the 6-cylinder to save fuel? Isn't it good for me to buy a 6-cylinder car? This, the salesman realized that he had said the wrong thing, his face flushed. Charlie sneered at them and said, I know what you think. You were uncomfortable when you saw that I bought a BMW 760 yesterday. So today, you are trying to coax me into becoming your customer, right? A group of people nodded hurriedly. Charlie hummed, tell you guys. It's late. Yesterday you ignored me, but today I make you unable to climb high. After speaking, Charlie pressed the horn of the little e-bike. Diddy, get out of the way. Brother is going to the BMW store to buy a car. BMW's sales also ran out at this time, and said angrily, Audi's grandson, what are you doing? Are you robbing our customers? Didn't you see our customers just ignore you? Then surround you distinguished customers, believe it or not, I'll call the media to expose you guys. Audi's guy couldn't hold it, so he could only walk away in despair. The manager of the BMW 4's shop came to greet Charlie in person and asked respectfully, Mr. Charlie, do you still want to buy a car today? Charlie nodded and said, is there a BMW 530? I'll drive away today. Yes. The manager was so excited. He bought a BMW 760 yesterday and a BMW 530 today. This is really a big customer. So he hurriedly said, Sir, please come with me, I will show you the show car. Charlie gave a hum and followed him into the exhibition hall. There happened to be a BMW 530 in the exhibition hall. Charlie sat in and felt it, and found that although this car looked very similar to the 7 Series, it was really a lot worse inside. Already considered high configuration. So he was about to swipe his card to buy a car. At this moment, he heard a familiar voice and said, Oh my dear, I really like the BMW X6. Would you buy me an X6? Sitting in the car, Charlie followed the sound, but found out that Lily, the fiancée of his university friend Darren, was holding a strange man at this time, with a look of intimacy and ambiguity. Charlie frowned and thought to himself, Lily called that man dear, could this woman cuckold Darren? He couldn't help but get annoyed, because he hated this kind of woman who has no moral bottom line and is unfaithful to feelings in her life. Moreover, Darren is busy with business, and she unexpectedly came out to cuckold him. This kind of woman is too disgusting. At this time, he listened to the man with a lustful face and asked, If I bought you X6 now, how would you explain that to Darren? Darren, Lily said with a look of disgust, "Don't mention the waste. The family wants money and he has no money and no ability. If it's not for looking at others to be honest and practical, I would not follow him altogether." The man grinned, squeezed Lily's face, and asked, "Now you are my woman, and you are still going to be with him?" Zhao Dong's woman must not allow other men to get involved. Lily hurriedly said, "Don't worry, Dong, I haven't let him touch me since we were together. I think he is dirty. My body will always be Dong's only, and it's only used to serve Dong. Brother, you are alone." Then, she explained, "Actually, I wanted to break up with him immediately after the restaurant opened, but I didn't expect that a classmate this guy knew was a bit capable and helped him fix the troubles in the development zone. Scar, I want to wait for the business to stabilize before telling him to break up and kick him out of the restaurant." Zhao Dong laughed and said, "It's just a Scar, what's the deal? If you told me earlier, I can ask his eldest brother to apologize to you with just one call." Lily smiled and said, "Oh, you're still good at it, Dong." At that time, it was urgent, I didn't care to call you, and Darren was also there, I'm afraid you will be unhappy if you meet him. Zhao Dong pinched her waist and said with a smile, "You are quite sensible." Lily hurriedly rubbed her arm in front of her and said, "Dong, are you willing to buy a BMW X6 for someone else?" Zhao Dong smiled and said, "So, later, we will go to my house and let you feed several times. Then you will break up with that pauper, and I will buy you a BMW X6 tomorrow." Lily asked in surprise, "Dong, is what you said is true? Will you really buy me X6 tomorrow? When did I lie to you?" Zhao Dong grinned and said, "However, you have to serve me well before you can drive it." Lily immediately winked and said, "Don't worry, Dong, I will take care of you when I get to your house later." The two said, turned around, and left the For's shop. Charlie was very annoyed at a couple of dogs, and immediately took out his mobile phone and called Darren. As soon as Darren answered the phone, he immediately said excitedly, "Charlie, how are you doing? Why do you think of calling me?" Charlie said lightly, "Call to greet you, what are you up to now?" Darren said, "I'm helping out at the back kitchen of the restaurant. It's not fast at noon, and it's about to be served, so I'll help." Charlie asked, "Are you busy in the hotel every day?" Darren said, "Yes, the restaurant has just opened, and there are many things. Besides, more than half of the money in this restaurant is from Lily's father. If I don't work harder, they will look down upon them." Charlie asked again, "How much did you pay?" "I gave out 100,000. This is all my savings since graduating from university." Charlie continued to ask, "Who is the owner of the restaurant?" Darren said, "It's me." Charlie asked, "Is your name written in the industrial and commercial registration?" Darren said, "That's not the case. The industrial and commercial registration is in Lily's father's name. Lily and I are not married yet. Since they paid the money, it wasn't appropriate to write my name on the paper." After speaking, Darren said again, "But her father said that after we get married, he will shift the ownership of the hotel to me." Charlie shook his head as he listened, "This fool, I don't know if he has been used. Lily treated him like a cow, a horse, and as a slave, and asked him to work in the hotel business in the development zone. She went out to steal people by herself, and got together with rich men, and planned to kick him out. Now the hotel has nothing to do with Darren in the business registration. Once Lily turns her face, he can only go out of the house. When the time comes, not only will everything be in vain, but his own 100,000 will also vanish. Thinking of this, he felt even more disgusted with Lily and asked Darren directly, "Why did Lily go out now?" Darren smiled and said, "She went to the hairdresser. What's wrong?" Charlie sneered, "Doing hair? Did she say that?" "Yes, indeed." "You believe what she said?" Darren asked in a surprised tone. "Charlie, what do you mean? Just say it, don't go around." Charlie gave a hum and said, "Then I'll tell you the truth. I saw Lily in a BMW 4's store. She was still hugging a man named Zhao Dong, and she kept calling that Zhao Dong my dear. She might be cuckolded by him." "Impossible!" Darren blurted out, "Lily is not that kind of person at all. Could it be you who recognized the wrong person?" Charlie said confidently, "I can't be mistaken, it was her." "I don't believe it." Darren said coldly, "Charlie, we are in a good relationship, but you can't say bad things about my wife just because we are friends." Charlie said coldly, "Darren, wake up. Your wife is already with other men, and that Zhao Dong also promised to buy her a BMW X6. Now Lily is going home with him, preparing for the evening. She will break up with you when she comes back. As an old classmate, I advise you to prepare early." Without waiting for Darren's answer, Charlie continued, "You'd better transfer the painting that I sent you out first, and keep that painting. You still have the capital to make a comeback, but if you don't believe me, then I don't have any method to save you from the trouble coming up ahead." Darren was also anxious and said, "Charlie, don't talk nonsense here. Lily is my fiancée, I know her best, she will never betray me. If you frame her again, I will break my relationship with you." Charlie frowned and said lightly, "Okay, as a friend, the reminder I should give has been given. If you don't believe me, then I have nothing to do. Good luck." After speaking, Charlie hung up the phone directly. What an idiot who was dazzled by love, he secretly recorded a video and sent him to see it. At this time, the manager of the BMW store knocked on the window and asked him, "Sir, are you satisfied with this 530? Charlie nodded, "It's pretty good. Let's take this one. Get me a new one from the warehouse." The manager immediately beamed his eyebrows, "Wait a minute, I will arrange for someone to pick up the car." Soon, a black BMW 530 drove over by the salesman stopped there. Charlie simply swiped the card to pay and picked up the car, then folded the little e-bike, stuffed it into the trunk, and drove away in a big swing. On the way back, his father-in-law and mother-in-law called, in turn, to ask him if he was back. When Charlie arrived downstairs, he realized that they were already waiting downstairs. Seeing Charlie really bought a BMW 530, the old couple smiled excitedly. The father-in-law went around the BMW several times and exclaimed, "Good car! Good car! I didn't expect that I could still drive a BMW." Charlie smiled and said, "Dad, you might be able to drive a Rolls-Royce in the future." The father-in-law laughed and said, "Then it depends on your ability." The mother-in-law was also very happy on the sidelines, and her attitude towards Charlie had also changed a lot. Father-in-law got in the car for a test drive, and after returning, he said, "The car is really good, and it's comfortable to drive, but the car is too long and not easy to handle. Charlie, you will be the driver for me this afternoon. I just made an appointment with someone to see things." Charlie nodded, "Okay, Dad." The mother-in-law said with excitement, "When I turn around, I will be a driver and take me to have afternoon tea with my friends. Let them also see that I am also picked up by a BMW when I go out." "Okay, Mom." After lunch, the old master, Jacob, was already dressed neatly and urged Charlie to say, "Charlie, hurry up and get ready in our new car and follow me to Antique Street. There is a new Thompson Dynasty official kill vase in a store. I want to see it." Charlie couldn't help but persuade, "Dad, you're starting to play antiques again now? We don't have much money at home. Is it not a bit too extravagant to buy antiques?" Jacob has no ability to make money, but he has a lot of dreams of getting rich. He likes to go shopping in the antique street when he has nothing to do. He wants to pick up a leak in his dreams, but in the past few years, he has basically been cheated. It stopped for a while before, but he didn't expect that not only did it not completely stop, but it was revived. Seeing that Charlie even dared to point to him, Jacob coldly snorted and said, "Don't talk so much nonsense, just send me over." Charlie had no choice but to go against him, so he had to drive Jacob to Antique Street. Oris Hill is a famous historical city. It is located on the Antique Street outside the scenic spot. It is also well known in China. Antique dealers and shoppers from all over the country gather here. The local tourism department also took advantage of the trend and spent a lot of money to renovate the Antique Street and turn it into a tourist attraction. When he arrived at Antique Street, Jacob came to the door of an antique shop and explained to the receptionist that he had an appointment. It was convenient to invite 2 people to the VIP room at the back to see the goods. Charlie was about to follow in, but Jacob turned back and said, "Don't follow in. You can't understand it even if you come in. Wait for me at the door of the VIP room." Charlie nodded, "I know, Dad." With his hands on his back, Jacob followed the reception staff into the VIP room, and Charlie sat down in the lounge area. A few minutes later, Charlie suddenly heard a crisp sound coming from the VIP room. Later, Charlie saw his old father-in-law coming out in a panic. He still muttered, "It's over, it's over. This is over." Charlie hurriedly walked to the front and looked behind Jacob. He saw that a tall and thin ceramic bottle had fallen into 2 on the ground, and there were still many small ceramic fragments on the ground. Through the fragments, we can vaguely see that the one that was broken should be a Thompson Dynasty jade pot spring bottle. He had been in the Wade family since he was a child, and he was also very knowledgeable. You can tell at a glance that this bottle is a genuine antique, and it is not a big problem to sell it up to several million in the market. It seems that Jacob has caused a major disaster this time. In the VIP room, a middle-aged man said with a dark face, "Mr. Wilson, our jade pot spring bottle at least cost 5 million. Now you have broken it, you must pay the price." This person is Lian Jiayun, the manager of Jikingtang. Jacob pulled Charlie over, and said in a panic, "This is my rich son-in-law, do you know how much he has? Don't say just 5 million, even 50 million is nothing. It's nothing for him to pay at once. Talk to him. I have something to do, let's go now." After that, Jacob pushed Charlie in, turned his head, and ran out. Charlie looked dumbfounded. This old master is too shameless, this is a clear plan to let him be a scapegoat. Lian Jiayun looked at Charlie and asked coldly, "This gentleman, a total of 5.38 million is due, are you swiping your card or transferring money?" Charlie spread his hands, "I have no money." He was not unable to afford it but wanted to teach the old master a lesson so that he would not be able to come to Antique Street every day. "No money?" Lian Jiayun gritted his teeth, "You smashed our most precious thing, do you think you can leave without money, just by hiding your assets?" Charlie said helplessly, "I didn't want to hide anything, but I really don't have any money. Besides, I didn't smash your bottle. Why should you make me pay?" Lian Jiayun was out of luck. "Isn't that your father-in-law?" Charlie nodded, "There you go, it's my father-in-law, not me. Whoever smashed it, find him to pay for it." Lian Jiayun was annoyed for a while, but what Charlie said also made sense. He couldn't help but ask him to pay compensation, otherwise, the signboard of Ji Qingtang would be ruined. So he hurriedly blurted out to a few people around him, "You guys, hurry up and get me back that old guy." Charlie watched them chasing the old master in a hurry, and he laughed and said nothing. In fact, he could just swipe his card to pay the money, but then, wouldn't it be cheaper for his shameless old master? Instead of that, it's better to let this old guy suffer. Otherwise, if he encounters such a thing again in the future, he will cheat him shamelessly again. All Jikingtang's people were dispatched and they all went to catch Mr. Jacob. Charlie was fine on his own, so he looked at the broken bottle on the ground. The bottle is about half a meter high, and now it has broken into 2 halves and a pile of fragments, which is really a pity. However, he suddenly noticed that something seemed to be hidden at the bottom of the lower half of the bottle. He hurriedly reached in and took out a small wooden box. Unexpectedly, there is such a mystery in this bottle. The shape of the bottle has a small mouth and a big opening. The wooden box is obviously 2 or 3 times larger than the mouth of the bottle. It seems that this was not stuffed in the later stage, but when the bottle was made, the wooden box was used directly. The box is made in this way, this wooden box should have been left by the Thompson dynasty too. He took the wooden box in his hand and looked at it carefully, then with a little force, he opened the wooden box with a snap. As the wooden box opened, an extreme fragrance suddenly escaped, and Charlie took a sip, only feeling refreshed. Take a closer look, inside the wooden box, lies an ancient book that is not as big as a palm. Charlie picked up this very pocket-sized ancient book and saw 4 ancient seal characters written on the title page of the Juxuanation Jing. This name is a bit interesting, I don't know what it is. Charlie opened the book and looked at it. The first one is the medical technique, which records a large number of cases and treatment methods. Charlie frowned slightly. He had also been in contact with traditional medicine and knew some basic theories of traditional medicine, but the content recorded in this book was obviously much better than the methods used in traditional medicine today. Some methods of diagnosis and treatment are unheard of. Even at the end of the medical technique, Charlie also saw alchemy, the effect of some pills, which is simply beyond the real knowledge of society. Charlie became interested and sat on the ground, constantly flipping. Unexpectedly, in the 9 profound Sky Sutras, there are also the contents of Feng Shui fortune-telling, as well as various magical methods such as treasure inspection and restoration, in addition to many other strange things. Charlie looked at it for a long time, only to feel that every word in the book was digging into his mind. His heart was like boiling water. This is a peerless treasure. Charlie was overjoyed and immediately prepared to stuff the 9 profound heaven scriptures into his arms. As a result, the book immediately turned into powder and disappeared. However, every word in the book was clearly printed in Charlie's brain. At this time, Jacob, who ran away, was brutally escorted back by several big and 3 rough men. Seeing the redness and swelling on both sides of his face, it seems that it was a grab for a gasp. Looking at his embarrassed appearance, Charlie just wanted to laugh. This old guy, it is outrageous to want to throw the pot at him after getting into trouble. Letting him take a lesson is a punishment. The old master, Jacob, was particularly embarrassed at this time. He ran desperately just now and was exhausted. But he didn't have a car key either. He was old and fat, and couldn't run fast. How could he compete with these young people? So after a few meetings, he was caught, tied back, and slapped several times. It was really miserable to get home. Several people caught Jacob back, and manager Lian Jiun gritted his teeth and said, "Old thing, you want to run after you smashed our bottle? You don't want to pay Jikingtang." The old master in horror said, "I didn't mean it, it's because this bottle is too slippery." Lian Jiun said coldly, "Stop talking nonsense with me. I will give you an afternoon to raise money. If you can't afford it, I will report and warn you of deliberately damaging other people's property. The case value of more than 5 million is enough for you to sit in prison." Now, Jacob trembled in fright. He looked at Charlie as if he saw a life-saving straw. "Charlie, my good son-in-law. I will die if you don't save me." Charlie said helplessly, "Dad, I don't have that much money." Jacob hurriedly blurted out, "Then you will go to jail instead of me. My family has supported you for so long, and it's time for you to repay you." Charlie thought to himself, "Why do you have the face to say such things?" Just as he was about to refuse, the middle-aged man took the lead and said, "If you are wronged, you have a debtor. Our Jikingtang is the most trustworthy business. You broke the bottle and you have to pay for it. After all," he said to Charlie, "you can go, but it's best to help him raise enough money, otherwise, after this afternoon, I will send him to the police station." Charlie nodded lightly. Jacob was frightened and cried and said, "Good son-in-law, you can't go. What should I do if you leave?" Charlie couldn't help being amused when he saw him so frightened. But of course, he can't laugh on the face. He was trying to find an excuse to raise money to leave, and let the old master stay here to suffer. But it suddenly occurred to him that there was an ancient method of repairing porcelain artifacts in the shop just now, so he thought, "Manager, if I can repair that jade pot spring bottle, can you let him go?" Lian Jiun sneered and said, "Who do you think you are, and you need to restore the antiques? To tell you the truth, I have sent the photos to the Oris Hill cultural relic appraisal experts. Charlie shook his head and said, "Your bottle is broken, it's useless to keep it, I will try it without losing anything." Lian Jiayun sneered disdainfully, and said, "Okay, right? Okay. I want to see what you can do." Charlie said, "Prepare me a piece of rice paper, a brush, and 5 eggs. The eggs will be raw." Lian Jiayun waited to see what kind of joke Charlie would make, and without hesitation, he quickly found a basket of raw eggs for Charlie. But he still couldn't help but ridiculed, "Use eggs to repair cultural relics. I have never seen such a method. I warn you, don't play tricks. Either you pay compensation or we take your father-in-law to court. 5 million is enough for your father-in-law to sit in prison for a lifetime." Charlie nodded and said, "What if I fix it?" Lian Jiayun coldly hummed, "If it is verified by professionals and it is repaired and most of the losses can be recovered, then you can go." "Okay." Charlie nodded, "A word is a deal." After speaking, he immediately stopped talking to him, picked up the writing brush, and outlined the outline of the Yahuchun bottle on the rice paper. Afterward, he knocked the egg in a small mouth, dipped a little egg white with his index finger, wiped it on a fragment of the bottle, pressed it on the paper model, and then picked up a piece and pressed it on. The paper model was gradually being antiqued. The fragments are posted on. Everyone kept silent, for fear of interrupting his repair process. Soon, half an hour passed. When Charlie straightened up again, what appeared in front of everyone was a Thompson Dynasty jade pot spring bottle that looked like a new. He smiled at Lian Jiayun and said, "You can see where there are flaws." Lian Jiayun picked up the bottle and looked up and down a few times before he said disdainfully, "Are you teasing me? You paste it with egg liquid, even if it's repaired? I will break your leg and paste it with egg liquid." "Okay. Don't mess with that bottle." At this moment, a clear and urgent voice suddenly came from the door. Immediately afterward, a glamorous beauty in a small white casual suit stepped in. She has a beautiful face, a perfect and tall figure, close to a height of 1.7 meters, exuding a luxurious aura. Those beautiful eyes look into the room, her eyes are full of cold and arrogance, like a queen of frost. The moment Lian Jiayun saw this woman, his face changed drastically, and he quickly lowered his head respectfully and said, "Miss, why are you here?" The visitor is the actual owner of Jikingtang, Warnya Song, the eldest of the Song family, the top family of Oris Hill. Warnya snorted coldly, and said angrily, "I'm afraid I don't come, you will ruin all this shop." "What's the matter?" Lian Jiayun smiled wryly and quickly replied, "A customer accidentally broke the bottle while looking at it. His son-in-law repaired it with an egg. I was about to say that such a repair is worthless, and I want to talk to them about compensation." Warnya leaned to the edge of the antique bottle and observed for a while. Her complexion suddenly changed. Then, she immediately turned her head and scolded Lian Jiayun and said, "Quickly let go. Whoever makes you don't understand, just touch it." Lian Jiayun was immediately stunned. "Miss, what are you?" Warnya said angrily, "This is a cultural relic that has just been restored. Except for the restoration experts, other people can't touch them with their hands for the time being. Don't you understand this rule?" Lian Jiayun hesitated and said, This is just using egg liquid to paste it again, isn't it a repair? Warnya's beautiful eyes were angry, and she scolded, "You idiot, after the bottle is repaired, the price will at least double, but because you touch it with your hand, you will lose at least 2 million. You pack your things and don't come tomorrow." She had seen a porcelain plate in the same period at an auction in Hong Kong. The history of the porcelain plate is very interesting. It is porcelain of the Thompson dynasty. It was broken in the Song dynasty and repaired by skilled craftsmen in the Song dynasty in the same way. And because this repair method is extremely rare and has long been lost in history, the final transaction price of the porcelain plate was 13 million, which far exceeded the actual value of the porcelain plate. Now that this bottle was repaired by Charlie with a lost technique, the value of the bottle will rise. Lian Jiayun's face was pale, and he didn't expect that if he just touched the jade pot spring bottle, he would have caused such a big loss and lost his job. Warnya then asked, "Where is the man who repaired this jade pot spring bottle? Take me to see him." Lian Jiayun was shocked. He never dreamed that this egg-repaired bottle would become a more precious treasure. So he hurriedly pointed at Charlie, "Miss, this gentleman repaired it." Warnya glanced at Charlie, wondering in her heart that he was too young to have such a lost cultural relic restoration technique. With a faint smile, Warnya asked politely, "I am Warnya from the Song family. Dare to ask which cultural relic master you studied?" Jacob, the horrified old father-in-law, heard Warnya's name and was immediately speechless. Song family. The Song family is the top family in Oris Hill. Although the strength is not comparable to those of East Cliff's superfamilies, in Oris Hill, it is really a giant that no one can match. He really didn't expect that he could meet the Song family's eldest here. Here, Charlie doesn't feel much about Warnya's identity. Although the Song family is very powerful, it is still a family of hundreds of billions of assets. Compared with the Wade family's trillions of assets, that's a difference of 100,000. 8,000 miles. So he said faintly, "My name is Charlie, but I don't have any masters or expertise." Immediately afterward, Charlie said again, "My father-in-law broke your jade pot spring bottle. I repaired it. Please also appraise the specific value to see if we still need to pay compensation." Warnya shook her head and smiled, "After you have repaired it, this bottle has far exceeded its original value. Logically speaking, it should be our Jiking Tang who owes you now." Charlie smiled faintly, "You don't need to be so polite, since this side has been processed, then my father-in-law and I should leave." Warnya's big eyes turned slightly, and she smiled and said, "Sir, I don't know what your surname is and how you are called. Can you leave contact information for future communication?" With that, Warnya took out her business card, handed it over, and said, "Sir, this is my business card. Please accept it." Charlie nodded, accepted the business card, and said lightly, "My name is Charlie Wade, but I don't have a business card." "It doesn't matter." Warnya said, "Is it convenient for Mr. Charlie to leave the phone number?" Charlie felt that it was not a bad thing to know more people, and this Warnya looked very polite and humble, not like an arrogant and domineering person, and looked pleasing to the eye. So he exchanged mobile phone numbers with Warnya. Warnya then said, "Mr. Charlie, do you want me to send a car to take you two back?" Charlie waved his hand and said, No, we came by car. Warnya nodded and said, "That's I must see you off." Afterward, Warnya sent the two to the BMW 530, watched Charlie drive away, and walked slowly back to Jikingtang. Charlie drove back, and the old master couldn't help asking him, "Charlie, who did you learn the craft of cultural relics from?" Naturally, Charlie couldn't say that he found a magical 9 profound heavenly secrets in the bottle he broke. After all, this book is so magical. There are so much content in it that he still needs to digest slowly. Things cannot be told to anyone. So he said casually, "Learned from a sweeping uncle in the orphanage." The old master nodded and sighed, "It's really fortunate. If you didn't have this ability, I'm afraid I would have to go to jail." After that, the old master hurriedly asked, "That's right. You must not tell your mother about this matter, you know." Charlie nodded, "I know, Dad." The old master breathed a sigh of relief, rubbed his face, and said annoyedly, "If I knew you had this craft, then I won't have run. I was tired and half dead, and I was slapped a few times. Bad luck." After speaking, he asked Charlie, "Can you still see the mark on my face?" Charlie said, "There is still a little redness." Jacob hummed and said, "If your mother asks when we get home, you will say that I accidentally hit a telephone pole." When they got home, Charlie was too busy to go to the vegetable market to buy vegetables and cook. He called Claire and asked her what she wanted to eat, but she replied that she was going to meet Doris's construction plan in the evening, and Doris was going to entertain her for dinner at the Imperial Group. Immediately afterward, Doris also sent him a text message, saying, "Mr. Wade, Mrs. Wade is about to start work here, so she may be busy in the near future, please don't mind." Charlie is not an unreasonable person. Knowing that business matters are important, he replied, "The company's meals must be well. Don't let her eat boxed lunch." Doris said immediately, "Don't worry, I will arrange the company's executive restaurant to make the best dinner to entertain young lady." Well done. Since his wife won't come home for dinner, Charlie didn't pay much attention to it. He bought some ingredients and went home to make a home-cooked meal for the old man and mother-in-law. After eating, the old couple went out to have some square dance. Charlie was at home by himself, still thinking of some mysterious contents in the 9 profound heavenly secrets. At this moment, he suddenly received a call from Darren. Charlie didn't want to answer his call. This kid was really a little fascinated, so he kindly reminded him, but he turned his face with anger, which made him feel a little suffocated. But thinking about him, he was pitiful enough, so Charlie still answered the phone and asked him, "Is there anything wrong?" On the other end of the phone, Darren sobbed vaguely, "Charlie, good brother, I'm sorry. I blamed you." Charlie heard him cry hard, feeling a little intolerable, and asked him, "Do you know the truth now?" Darren cried and said, "After you finished talking to me, the more I thought about it, the more I felt something was wrong, and then through the positioning of her iPhone, I found a villa, but I knocked on the door and went in to catch them. I was beaten up by that man, his driver, and housekeeper, and then I was dragged to the hospital by emergency service." Speaking of this, Darren collapsed and cried, "Charlie, it is your brother that was blind and blamed you. You must not be angry with me. You are my only good friend." If you turn your face away, I really don't have anything when I'm in Oris Hill. Charlie sighed and said, I don't blame you. Which hospital are you in now? I'm in the People's Hospital. Darren said, my leg was hit by him with a baseball bat. The doctor said that I could not get out of bed during this period. The painting you gave me was taken by me when I went after them. Can you please help me to mortgage this painting to the pawn shop? All my money has gone into the hotel, and now I have no money and no money for treatment. Upon hearing this, Charlie immediately questioned, did those who hurt you not pay for the medical bill? No. Have you called the police? Reported, it's useless. The police said I broke into the house without permission, and they beat me, which is a legitimate defense. Unreasonable. Charlie furiously said, you wait, I will come there. People's Hospital. Darren is lying on the bed in the emergency department. He was hurt everywhere, and his right leg was also put in a cast, looking very pitiful. Charlie couldn't help but sympathize, a big man who misunderstood the woman, and as a result, not only his heart was broken, but his body was beaten like this. When Darren saw him come in, tears burst into his eyes, swollen like eggs. Darren couldn't help crying as soon as he spoke. Charlie walked to the front and said lightly, okay, it's just a peach, it's not worth your sadness. Darren cried and said, I chased her for 3 years. For her, I had no dignity in these years. I completely turned into a licking dog. I thought I would have everything in the end, but I didn't expect it to end like this. Finally, there is nothing for me. Darren cried out of breath and said, that peach not only wants to break up with me but also wants me to leave the house. Most of the money I have made in the past few years has been spent on her. The 100,000 deposit was also invested in the hotel, but she doesn't even want to pay it back to me. I was so blind, how could I like such a terrible woman? Charlie persuaded him, Darren, if a man can afford to put it down, he should fall down and get up again. What about the painting I gave you? That painting can sell for at least 200,000, enough for you to start a little business again. Darren nodded and said, the painting is in my arms. Fortunately, you reminded me of that and I brought the painting. Otherwise, she must have taken the painting away. Charlie said, it's fine if the painting is still there. You can lie down and calm down. I'll buy you some fruits and pay the hospitalization fee by the way. Darren was moved to tears. Charlie, good brother, thank you so much, don't worry, I will return the money to you in the future. Charlie said lightly, okay, we're brothers, so talk less nonsense. After speaking, he left the ward. He was in a hurry just now and didn't care about shopping. Seeing Darren so pitiful, Charlie couldn't bear it, so he went to buy him some fruit and swiped his card to deposit 100,000 for hospitalization. When returning to the ward, Charlie found that the door of the ward had been pushed open. When he came to the front, he found that Lily was standing in front of Darren's bed with Xiaodong in her arms. Seeing the two of them coming in, Darren asked loudly, what are you doing here, here to make fun of me? Lily sneered, who doesn't see you as a clown? After speaking, she didn't forget to spit on the ground, and then said, I'm here to ask you for the painting. Where did you hide it? Give it to me quickly. Darren said angrily, Lily, my brother gave me that painting. Why do you need it? Give it to you. Lily snorted coldly. Your mother figured out why Charlie gave the painting to me? It was a gift for the opening of the restaurant. Whose restaurant is it? It belongs to my dad. Darren didn't expect Lily to be so shameless, and his angry voice trembled. Lily, don't go too far. Your restaurant still has the 100,000 I invested, and you must return the 100,000 to me. As for the painting, it was given to me by my good brother. Have you heard it? Given it to me. Lily said contemptuously, stop being rude to me. The restaurant has nothing to do with you. I won't give you a penny. The painting belongs to the restaurant. If you don't bring it out, I will call the police immediately. Just say you stole that painting from my restaurant. Zhao Dong on the side also sneered, boy, I advise you to get to know yourself better. My network in Oris Hill is something you can't afford. If you don't hand over the painting, I just need to say hello to the Public Security Bureau. They will arrest you immediately. 200,000 case value is enough for you to go to prison for 10 years. Darren's tears kept streaming, and he asked Lily, I have done my best to you these years and gave you everything I could give you. Even if you don't appreciate it, you don't have to be like this, right? Lily disdainfully said, appreciate? What are you? I tell you, I have never liked you. You are not worthy of my liking. Only a man like Zhao Dong deserves my liking. Zhao Dong also smiled and said, I forgot to tell you, Lily and I are in harmony in bed. Lily said shyly, oh, Zhao Dong, why are you talking about this? Don't make me feel shy. Shy? Zhao Dong laughed and said, why don't we close the door and show it in front of this rubbish and show him how you serve me? Oh, no, it's too shameful. Darren couldn't stand it anymore. He picked up the pillow and slammed it over, cursing, dog man and woman, get out of my face. Zhao Dong grabbed the pillow and snorted coldly, I warn you, if you don't hand over the painting, I will break your other leg and throw you into jail. After listening to this outside, Charlie suddenly walked into the ward and shouted angrily, dare to hurt my brother and seek death. Zhao Dong turned his head, looked at Charlie, and asked, who are you? Lily said, this person is Charlie, the person who sent the painting. Zhao Dong laughed loudly, oh, who I thought it was. It turned out to be the rubbish who eats leftovers. His name is unknown to everyone in Oris Hill. After that, Zhao Dong looked at Charlie coldly, and said, I will give you 3 seconds to get out. I can treat you as if you haven't been here. Charlie said disdainfully, let me get out? What are you? Zhao Dong gritted his teeth and said, boy, dare to pretend in front of Zhao Dong. Charlie said coldly, I don't care if you are Zhao Dong, 0, or diarrhea. You make me very upset today. I will give you a chance to kneel on the ground and give my brother 3 heads and let my brother break your 1 leg, otherwise, you will die an ugly death. Hearing this, Zhao Dong seemed to laugh a few times. Then, his expression gradually solidified, and he said coldly, boy, what are you talking about? Let me kneel down? Are you tired of living? Lily couldn't help but ridicule on the side, Charlie, are you stupid? Pretending to force Zhao Dong, do you think you have a long life? Charlie said coldly, Don't talk to me, smelly braz, You Lily suddenly became angry and said to Zhao Dong, honey. He dares to scold me. Find someone to kill him. I want to tear his mouth. Zhao Dong gritted his teeth and said, I don't know anything good or bad. I'll call someone to kill you, you wait. Charlie suddenly laughed when he heard this, and said, well, if you don't kill me, you and this smelly filth will both die miserably. Zhao Dong immediately made a call and said loudly, 7 brothers, I am at the People's Hospital now. Bring a few brothers here, I am going to give you a kid to take care of. Charlie did not call, but directly sent a text message to Mr. Orville, come to the People's Hospital, someone wants to kill me. Orville immediately called back and blurted out, Mr. Charlie, which dog is not long-eyed and doesn't want to live? Charlie said lightly, stop talking nonsense, just come over directly. Orville immediately said, Mr. Charlie, don't worry, I'll be here. When Zhao Dong saw that Charlie was also on the phone, he sneered, what? Can you call someone too? Charlie sneered and said, I said it will make you die miserably. Zhao Dong seemed to have heard this joke, and sneered, are you out of your mind? In Oris Hill, someone who can make me die miserably, no mother has given birth to such a man. Darren on the hospital bed struggled to sit up and said anxiously, Charlie, you go quickly, don't mess with this guy, you can't mess with him. Charlie walked up to him, pushed him back on the bed, and said lightly, just lie down. Darren said eagerly, you don't know the origin of Zhao Dong, his family is very powerful in Oris Hill. Charlie peeled an orange, stuffed it into his mouth, and said, the person I can't afford to offend hasn't been born yet. Lily laughed and said, oh my god, you can really brag, do you know what Zhao Dong does at home? Charlie said, I don't know what his family does, I only know that he will be a disabled person for the rest of his life. After finishing speaking, he said, oh yes, so you. Lily's face turned black immediately, well, since you are looking for death, then wait. Charlie asked Darren at this time. Does Lily's father Yusung know about you being beaten? He knows. Darren said, I called him. Charlie nodded and asked, what did he say? Darren looked angry and said, he said that it is young people's affairs, he can't control it. That means he doesn't want me to be there. Charlie asked again, then you invested the 100,000 in the hotel, did you ask him for it? Yes. Darren's expression became even more annoyed and gritted his teeth. This old master actually said that my 100,000 was not invested in a restaurant and that he was honored as a future son-in-law. He also said that I was not qualified to go back. He will not return it to me. Unreasonable. Charlie snorted coldly, no wonder there is such a cheap daughter, so he is a scumbag. Charlie, what are you talking about? Lily suddenly became angry, and blurted out, dare to scold my dad, I think you are tired of life, right? After speaking, she shook Zayadong's arm hurriedly, begging, darling, he dared to scold my dad, you beat him to death for me. Zhao Dong is a playboy, he is not very tall, and his physical fitness is very average. Standing in front of Charlie, he is half short. What's more, Charlie does all kinds of housework at home every day, goes to bed and wakes early, and has excellent physical fitness. If he started with Charlie, it would be impossible to win over Charlie. What's more, Charlie studied martial arts with his father when he was a child. After his parents passed away, he never failed to practice kung fu in the orphanage. It is precisely by virtue of the one-piece boxing skills he learned since childhood that he could not be bullied in the orphanage. Therefore, if he really starts, let alone Xiaodong, even if it is 5 Xiaodongs, they may not stand as Charlie's opponents. Xiaodong also knew very well in his heart that if he did it now, he would not take advantage at all, and he would probably be beaten again. So he touched Lily's hand and comforted, "Baby, don't worry, brother has already sent someone here. Just wait here. When they arrive, I will kill him." Charlie then sent a text message to Isaac in Shangri-La, "What is the origin of Xiaodong in Oris Hill?" Isaac quickly replied, "The business at home is mainly engaged in jade shareholders and pawn auctions, so the strength is the same." "Did he offend you?" "Yet." Charlie replied with a message, "I have asked Mr. Orville to come over. Besides, you do something for me." Isaac hurriedly said, "Mr. Wade, please say." Charlie said, "I want you to bring Xiaodong's father to the People's Hospital, as well as an old guy in Oris Hill who is engaged in cultural relic identification, named Yusheng, and bring them to me." Isaac immediately said, "Okay, master, I will escort them to see you personally." Charlie said, "You don't need to come forward, just send someone to do it. I don't want people to know that we know each other." "Okay, master." "Then should I let people teach those two old things?" Charlie said, "Catch it first, then give it to you." "Okay, young master. Everything is up to you, and I will order it." Putting away the phone, Charlie looked at Xiaodong and Lily and said coldly, "They say that the son is not a godfather. I will let your old master come over later and talk about how they educate the two of you." Xiaodong said with a black face, "Boy, I advise you to stop at enough, otherwise when the person I call arrives, you might really be dead." Charlie snorted, "Let the person you call come sooner, I can't wait." Xiaodong wanted to insult Charlie. At this time, the door of the ward was kicked open, and a guy with a face full of flesh rushed in with 7 or 8 men. When Xiaodong saw him, he immediately pointed to Charlie and said, "7 brothers, this kid, help me kill him." The brother Chi frowned and said coldly, "You provoke my brother." Charlie smiled lightly, nodded, and said, "What? Are you going to stand up for him?" Brother Chi looked at him suspiciously. This kid was talking face to face. He hadn't seen him before and didn't know the details, but why was he not afraid of himself at all? So he tentatively asked, "Boy, where do you come from?" Charlie said, "This city is my home." Xiaodong hurriedly added, 7 brothers, this is a live-in son-in-law who eats leftovers." After speaking, he whispered in his ear again, "Brother Chi, this kid has no background, you can fight to the death without worry, I will carry it if something happens." Eating soft rice. Brother Chi grinned and said, "Okay, I hack his mouth off his face, I see how he can eat soft rice." After speaking, before Charlie could answer, he immediately waved to the men behind him, "Kill him for me." Xiaodong looked at Charlie and sneered, "What are the last words, Mr. Charlie?" Charlie ignored him, looked at the brother Chi, and said lightly, "Kneel down, I'll spare your life." Brother Chi was stunned, and drew out his ears, frowned, and asked, "What did you say?" "Say it again, I promise you will not survive tonight." At this moment, a roar suddenly came from outside the door. "Little man, Mr. Charlie asked you to kneel down. Are you deaf?" Brother Key expression stunned, Orville unexpectedly came. As soon as the voice fell, Orville rushed in with Biao and dozens of other men. As soon as he entered the door, he immediately greeted Biao, "Seal the door, no other people are allowed to enter." Biao nodded immediately, "I know that, Master Orville." Brother Chi looked at Orville dumbfounded, his brain was completely cut off. Orville, the underground emperor of Oris Hill City. Brother Chi is just one of the local small bosses, but Orville is the king of the local roads. All people on the streets must worship Orville's wharf. He couldn't even dream that if he came to help Xiaodong deal with a little thing, he would actually alarm Orville. Xiaodong didn't know Orville. Seeing Brother Qi awkward look, he frowned and asked, "Brother Qi, what's going on? Who is this old guy?" As soon as these words came out, Brother Qi was trembling in shock. He grabbed Xiaodong's hair and slammed his face with a fierce punch, directly breaking his nose, and watching his two nostrils bleed. Brother Qi gritted his teeth and cursed, "You filth! Don't drag me down if you want to die. This is Mr. Orville." Ah! Xiaodong was frightened suddenly. Orville, underground emperor of Oris Hill City. Why is he here? At this time, Orville walked over with a black face and kicked Brother Qi crotch. The kick made him feel terribly painful, and he knelt on the ground, his face extremely pale. Orville stared at him and said coldly, "You dared to provoke Mr. Charlie, have you lived enough?" After finishing speaking, Orville immediately said to Charlie, ashamed, "Mr. Charlie, I am late, please forgive me." Orville's respectful attitude towards Charlie shocked everyone on the scene. Xiaodong realized what kind of character he had provoked, and he was shaking all over with fright. Charlie nodded to Mr. Orville, pointed to Brother Qi, and asked, "Do you know this person?" Mr. Orville said, "I know, it's just a junior, who provokes Mr. Charlie with blind eyes." What should Mr. Charlie want to do? In one word, Mr. Orville will do it right away, live. Charlie nodded and said, "He's very horrible, and he will destroy me when he enters the house. It is a hazard for such a person to stay in society. Abolish him and make him inseparable from a wheelchair for the rest of his life." Brother Qi was scared suddenly. He just relied on fighting and fighting to eat. If he really becomes a cripple who can't do without a wheelchair, how can he mess around on the road in the future? Wouldn't it be over for a lifetime? He knelt on the ground, climbed up to Charlie on his knees, and cried, "Mr. Charlie, I didn't know you. Please forgive me. I will never offend you again." Charlie said coldly, "I gave you a chance, but you were not sure." He still felt that Charlie was looking for death at the time, but now he realized that it was not him who was looking for death, it was himself. Panicked, he immediately knocked his head to the floor, crying, and said, "Mr. Charlie, please give me another chance and spare my dog's life." Charlie ignored him. Instead, he looked at Mr. Orville and asked, "Don't do it yet, what are you waiting for? Mr. Orville's expression was stunned, and he hurriedly said, come here. Break his kneecap to pieces. Immediately several younger men rushed up and pressed the big font of Brother Chi to the floor. At this time, Biao pulled out an iron rod and strode forward. Brother Chi wanted to beg for mercy, but Biao gathered the iron rod directly above his head and slammed it down. Click! Brother Chi's right kneecap was smashed into powder. This kind of crushing injury is impossible to cure in this life. Brother Chi was wailing in pain, but Charlie said at this time, it's not enough. Only one leg is made worthless. He can still use crutches. I want him to live in a wheelchair. Biao nodded immediately, raised the steel rod, and slammed it on Brother Chi's left knee. Brother Chi rolled all over the floor in pain, and his whole body was in shock. Orville said to Biao, put something in his mouth so as not to disturb Mr. Charlie. Okay, Master Orville. Immediately afterward, Biao stuffed a few pieces of gauze into Brother Chi's mouth, and threw him on the ground, curled up like a dead dog. Zhao Dong was already pale with fright. He finally understood what kind of existence he had angered. Before Charlie took the trouble, he took the initiative to kneel on the ground and kowtowed his head. Charlie, Mr. Charlie, I was wrong. I shouldn't be rude to you, please have mercy on me. Lily was also shocked, seeing Zhao Dong kneeling down and begging for mercy. She also knelt down and kept kowtow apologizing. Charlie said coldly, you couple of dogs, do you really think that if you ask for mercy, I will let you go? You are really stupid and naive. The two shuddered. At this time, a few people in black walked in with two middle-aged and elderly people who were tied up. The two middle-aged and elderly people had been beaten, bruised, and bleeding. They threw the two middle-aged people to the ground and bowed to Charlie. Mr. Charlie, the person you want is here. Zhao Dong and Lily glanced at them, and almost fainted on the spot in shock. The two middle-aged and elderly people lying on the ground are Zia Dong's father, Zhao Haifeng, and Lily's father, Yus Heng. Charlie asked people to pour cold water on the faces of Zhao Haifeng and Yus Heng, pour them sober, and then questioned Yus Heng, Mr. Yus Heng, your daughter is provocative and casually cuckolding fiancé. Do you know this? Yus Heng was frightened. He was beaten up before he came in. Knowing that his daughter had caused stubbornness this time, he kept shaking his head in order to protect himself. I don't know, I don't know. Charlie nodded and said, you don't know, do you? You don't know its father's oversight and negligence. Biao, break his left knee for me. Just like you did to the dead dog just now. Good. Biao immediately said to the people around him, hold him down for me. Yus Heng shouted in fright, no. Help. Lily also shouted in shock, Dad. Biao didn't hesitate. When his subordinates held Yueshen's leg, he immediately swung the steel rod and slammed it down. What Yus Heng only felt the pain and wanted to die. His knees had been completely shattered, and she was afraid it would be impossible to recover in this life. At this time, Charlie asked again, I'll ask you again, your daughter is sloppy and cuckolds her fiancé casually. Do you know this? Yus Heng cried and said, I know, it's because I can't discipline her, I must discipline her well in the future. Charlie snorted coldly, since you know this, why don't you stop it? You know your daughter is making mistakes but don't care about teaching, that's because your father's 3 views are not correct and you are helping you to abuse. After finishing speaking, he shouted angrily at Biao, Biao, give me his other leg. Yusung didn't expect that admitting his mistake would not work. Charlie still didn't plan to let him go. The whole person frightened, fell into a coma. However, Biao's steel rod made him awakened by severe pain in an instant. What? Yusung has lived for most of her life. Why did he suffer for such a crime? He was in tears, crying desperately, Mr. Charlie, I really know that I was wrong. From now on I will strictly discipline this unfilial girl, and I will never let her do this kind of hurtful things. Charlie said disdainfully, you are quite shirking of responsibility. In a word, Yusung trembled instantly. Charlie sternly asked, Mr. Yusung, I ask you. My brother invested 100,000 in your hotel, why didn't you refund it? Why did you say that my brother did not honor you? Yueshin's face was pale and hurriedly said, I was wrong, I was wrong. I was greedy and shameless, I really know I was wrong. After he finished speaking, he looked at Darren who was angry on the bed, and blurted out and pleaded, Darren, it's me who's lost the mind. Don't worry, I will pay you back this 100,000 with interest, please follow me. Mr. Charlie said pity, this old bone of mine really can't stand the tossing. Charlie looked at Darren and asked, are you going to intercede for him? Darren shook his head resolutely, and blurted out, no. I won't intercede for any of them. Okay. Charlie nodded in satisfaction, you are still a man. After finishing speaking, he turned his head to Yusung, who was desperate, and said, not only do you have no way to teach your son, you are also disrespectful, and you are trying to invade all my brother's savings over the past few years. What is the difference between you and lowlife? Yusung shivered in fright, crying and wailing, Mr. Charlie, I'm not a human, forgive me, I beg you, I'll be a cow and a horse for you in the future. From now on I will call you Grandpa, Grandpa Wade, please forgive me. Charlie sneered and said, spare you? It seems that although you are ugly, you think beautifully. After that, he said to Biao, take his right hand for me. I think he will dare not snatch other people's things in the future. Yusung cried in despair, no, Mr. Charlie, no. Biao simply smashed hard. My hand, Charlie said to Biao, get his mouth and pull it aside. It is good. Biao immediately blocked his mouth and threw him together with Brother Qi. Lily was so scared that she was going crazy. Zhao Dong is the same. The same goes for Zia Dong's father, Zhao Haifeng. He looked at Zhao Dong, slapped angrily, and cursed, who made you mess around outside? You are going to kill me. Charlie looked at Zhao Haifeng with a smile, and asked, what? Your son got together with my brother's fiancée and gave my brother a cuckold. Don't you know how to be a father? Zhao Haifeng cried with fright. He didn't know how to answer. Because just now Yueshin's lessons for the past are there for him to get the idea. If you say you know, your right leg will be broken, if you don't know, your left leg will be broken. Seeing that he didn't dare to answer, Charlie said directly to Biao, this old guy seems to be very shrewd, he thinks he can escape punishment without speaking. Biao, you just scrap his 2 legs. Yes, Mr. Charlie. Charlie looked at Zhao Haifeng, who was extremely flustered, and said coldly, blame your son for harming you. Immediately afterward, with 2 desperate wailings, Zhao Haifeng's 2 legs were completely scrapped. Seeing that his father was smashed into a permanent disability, Zhao Dong felt out of control for a while, and immediately afterward, a piece of yellowish smelly liquid leaked out of his crotch. He was so scared, and it was pee. Charlie smiled coldly, okay, it seems that you are really a mess who can't control that stuff. Today, all of this is caused by your inability to control it. I don't think you can keep it anymore. After finishing speaking, he told Biao, let him never be a man. Biao's expression flashed with a little bit of amazement. The same man, he couldn't help but tighten his crotch when he heard this command. Orville immediately yelled, what are you doing in a daze? Don't you hurry up to follow Mr. Charlie's instructions. Biao immediately recovered, and said to the people around him, split his legs. Zhao Dong was desperate and cried loudly, Mr. Charlie, Mr. Wade, please forgive me. Even if you abolish my hands and feet, let me be a man. Charlie smiled, do you think this is a question of abolishing hands and feet and abolishing that stuff? You are wrong, this is a double-choice question, you can't escape either. Immediately afterward, Biao raised his foot and stepped down. Suddenly Zhao Dong completely became a eunuch. However, this is not over yet. According to Charlie's request, Biao abolished his hands and feet. The arrogant Zhao Dong, who cuckolded others and even beat others into the hospital, has completely become waste in a double sense, but no one sympathizes with him, and everything he has today is just for himself. Now, only Lily is left intact. At this time, Lily was almost insane. She knelt and crawled to the hospital bed, took Darren's hand, and cried and said, husband, I'm sorry, husband, I should not have betrayed you, in fact, I really love you, but I was assaulted once by the Zhao Dong. He took a photo of me. I have no choice but to let him at his mercy. Zhao Dong scolded angrily, Lily, you dare to slander me. Obviously, it was the pawn shop where you and your dad came to me. You see that my family has the money to hook me up and take the initiative to sleep with me. Otherwise, it won't have been possible to get together with you. As he said, he cried and said to Charlie, Mr. Charlie, don't believe in this frame. I have a chat history. She took the initiative to add me to WeChat to confess to me, saying that she fell in love with me at first sight, and she took the initiative to send me several messages, private photos and close UPS to seduce me. These pictures are in my photo album. You can take out my phone and have a look. Lily suddenly paled and scolded, the Zhao Dong, didn't you promise me to delete the photo after seeing it? Zhao Dong gritted his teeth and said, you frame is really snake-hearted. Fortunately, I didn't listen to you and saved the photo, otherwise, I won't be killed by you. Lily hurriedly said to Darren again, my husband, I am confused for a while. For the sake of our relationship for so many years, please forgive me. Charlie asked Darren, what do you think? Darren glanced at Lily, reached out and pushed her aside, and said, I don't know this woman. Lily suddenly collapsed and cried. Charlie said, if this is the case, then break her legs, and then disfigure her so that she can no longer hook up with men for a while. Charlie didn't have the slightest sympathy for Lily, a natured woman. Biao immediately broke Lily's legs and her face according to the instructions, and even cut her hair with medical scissors. So far, all 5 people have paid a painful price. Charlie asked them to drag all these 5 people up, and said coldly, "Today, I spared you 5 dogs, but if any of you dare to disclose everything that happened today, I will kill his whole family and understand." The 5 immediately nodded frantically. It is a blessing in misfortune to be able to pick up life at this time. How dare to disobey Charlie's meaning? Seeing that these 5 people were completely convinced by his own treatment, Charlie nodded in satisfaction and said to Lily's father and Yusung, "If you cheat my brother, you will have to pay the price. You will change the restaurant to my brother's name tomorrow, yourself. Get out of the restaurant with your daughter, do you understand?" Yusung nodded like garlic, "I understand, I'll get out of here tomorrow." Charlie said to Zayadong's father, "Zhao Haifeng, your son cuckolded my brother and severely injured my brother. You will pay my brother 2 million in damages tomorrow. 1 point less will not work. Do you understand?" Zhao Haifeng also hurriedly said, "Mr. Charlie, I will call you to take the money tomorrow." Charlie was only satisfied, and said to Orville's men, "Okay, you throw all the garbage out." A group of people immediately took the 5 people out. After they were taken away, Charlie said to Biao, "Biao, you did a good job this time." Biao smiled and hurriedly said, "Mr. Charlie, this is what I should do." Charlie said lightly, "I will ask someone to transfer 2 million to your account as a reward for you." Biao was immediately ecstatic and bowed, "Thank you, Mr. Charlie." Although he has made a lot of money with Orville, Mr. Orville is really not so generous, and he can give 2 million for every shot. Charlie directly sent a text message to Isaac, asking him to help transfer money to Biao. Although he has a lot of money in his card, it is not convenient to operate now. A minute later, the money went to Biao's account. Biao was so excited that he kept bowing to Charlie. Charlie said to Orville again, "Mr. Orville, you must not look down on these 2 million. Mr. Orville said hurriedly, "Mr. Charlie, it is my honor to share your worries for you." Charlie gave a hum, and said, "I will remember this favor, and I will give you a chance to rise above and beyond." Hearing this, Orville immediately knelt on the ground, banged his head at Charlie. For Mr. Orville, what he wants is not money, but a higher level. However, for a person like him, it's hard to climb to the next level. Isaac was the object he had always wanted to fawn on, but Isaac never looked down on him because his background was too low and dirty. Now, with a word from Charlie, it is very likely that Isaac will lead him so that in the future, he will really be able to take it to the next level. After discussing the merits, Charlie turned around and said to Darren, "Are you satisfied with today's affairs?" Darren was extremely shocked. He really didn't understand why Charlie had become so powerful. Even the underground emperor of Oris Hill must kneel in front of him. He froze for a long time before he came back to his senses, and hurriedly said, "Satisfied? Satisfied?" Charlie said, "I'm returning you to the restaurant. I will also get you 2 million for the loss. The rest of the future will depend on you." Darren said immediately, Charlie, I will definitely be a cow and a horse for you in the future, and repay your kindness. No matter what you ask me to do, I will say nothing. Charlie nodded and said, you should heal your injury first, and if you recover from your injury, run the restaurant well. If there is anything you need to do, I will tell you then. Darren repeatedly said, I will listen to your instructions at any time. Charlie said again, oh, right, about today you must not tell anyone about this matter. I don't want others to know my identity, understand? Darren hurriedly nodded and said, I understand, don't worry, even if I die, I won't say anything. Charlie gave a hum and said, I will arrange 2 nurses for you to take care of you. Take care of yourself. I will leave now. Back home, Charlie did not tell his wife Claire what happened today. He still doesn't want to let his wife know too much. For her, the less she knows, the safer. The next day, when he was out shopping for groceries, he suddenly received a call. He picked it up and saw that it was actually from Warnya, the boss of Jikingtang and the daughter of the Song family. Charlie couldn't help but wonder, what would Warnya have to do with him? After picking it up, Warnya's voice came, Mr. Charlie, I'm really sorry, I take the liberty to interrupt, please forgive me. Charlie asked subconsciously, is there something wrong with the Yahuchun bottle after I repaired it? Warnya quickly replied, that's not the case. I called Mr. Charlie because of other things. Charlie gave a hum and said, say it. Warnya said, the thing is, I have recently fancied something, but I am a little bit uncertain. You have a lot of knowledge in antiques, so I would like to ask you to come and help me with it. Charlie didn't actually have any interest in appreciating antiques, but now he also has some treasures that contain spiritual energy, so he continued to ask, can you tell me what it is? Warnya replied, it's an ancient jade. According to the seller, after wearing it, it has the effect of peace of mind and good luck and avoiding evil. Charlie's mind suddenly turned. The 9 profound heaven scriptures that he got accidentally seemed to record some spiritual things. That kind of treasure that contains spiritual energy is of great benefit to people. He wanted to know if such a treasure could really be found in the world, so he agreed and said, okay, I can accompany you. Warnya said, thank you, Mr. Charlie. I will pick you up at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. It is good. After hanging up the phone, Charlie also thought to himself. Regal feng shui, this kind of antiques that can calm the nerves and seek good fortune and avoid evil is highly praised by the rich. You can contact them more in the future to see if there is any chance. Early the next morning, Warnya drove to pick up Charlie on time. After Charlie got in the car, Warnya said, Mr. Charlie, I'm going to buy this ancient jade today, as well as a few other people in Oris Hill are interested. I am afraid the competition will be very fierce. Charlie nodded and said lightly, it doesn't matter if there are many people or few people. The main thing is to see how things are. If things are good, you shouldn't be afraid of people. I believe in Miss Song's strength. If you really want to get a treasure, don't stop yourself. Warnya smiled slightly and said, Mr. Charlie, as the saying goes, there are mountains outside the mountains, and people outside the mountains. Just in Oris Hill, this onet herd of acres will hide dragons and crouching tigers. I don't know how many people are better than me. Charlie pretended to be surprised and asked, "No? Isn't the Song family the largest family in Oris Hill?" Warnya smiled and said, "That's just the surface, let's not talk about anything else. Take the new chairman of the Emgrand Group as an example. The Emgrand Group will top our entire Song family. The strength of this person is truly unfathomable." While talking, Warnya sighed again, "I actually want to make friends with this big man, but it's a pity that this person is too mysterious to find any breakthrough." Warnya spoke the truth. She does feel that the new chairman of Emgrand Group is unfathomable. You can buy a group of hundreds of billions at will without showing up. It can be seen that their industry is by no means just an Emgrand Group. In contrast, the Song family is indeed a little less interesting. However, she didn't know that the chairman of the Emgrand Group she had always wanted to make friends with was sitting next to her at this time. Charlie was naturally also very low-key, and casually echoed a few sentences, but never revealed any information. Warnya's car drove fast and steady. Soon, the car drove to a small courtyard by the river. This small courtyard is secluded and elegant, with a simple and unpretentious appearance, but inside it is a huge water town. Small bridges and flowing water, elegant gardens, pavilions, row upon row. After parking, someone specially greeted the two to enter the door. Go through the yard and into the lobby. In the Chinese-style decorated hall, there is a mahogany round table. Beside the table are several grandmaster chairs. Seeing the two coming in, a white-haired old master stood up and said hello to Warnya. "Miss, you are here." Warnya looked a little embarrassed and nodded and said, "Old Chi, why are you here too?" The old master smiled slightly and said, "I heard that you are coming, so I am here to take care of it." Warnya nodded and introduced to Charlie, "Chi is always the appraiser of our Song family. He is sent by the family, so he should be afraid of making mistakes." Charlie nodded. She was too young, and the Song family was not worried. Old Chi glanced at Charlie, his face was a little disdainful, and said, "This is the appraiser invited by the eldest? Is so young, have you learned appraisal?" Next to him, a middle-aged man with a blue complexion sneered and said, "Looking for such a hairy boy to hold his hands? Is there no one in the Song family? Would you like me to lend you some appraiser?" Ha 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 ha. Warnya's face became cold, and she said, "Tailali, this is Oris Hill, not your Heiken. It's not your turn to speak up here." Taila shrugged, and said indifferently, "The little girl from the Song family has a big temper." "Okay," a middle-aged man sitting at the east of the round table frowned. "It's all for business, not for quarrels, all calm down. And this young man, let's sit together." Warnya snorted before sitting down slowly. Charlie also took a seat, and then Warnya leaned in his ear and whispered, "The one called Taila before is the richest man in Heiken. Next to him is Guo Ming, a very powerful feng shui master. The one who spoke just now is Qin Gang, the head of the Qin family in Oris Hill. Their family is the closest." Charlie only noticed that Taila was sitting next to an old master in a turquoise Thompson suit. The old master was full of silver hair and had a sense of immortality. He kept his eyes closed all over his body, exuding an atmosphere that no one should get close to. He hadn't even opened his eyes after the two of them arrived. Speaking of this, Warnya shut up. Although Charlie was a little curious in his heart, he couldn't ask any more. After everyone was seated, sitting on the other side of the table, a fat man dressed in luxurious clothes smiled and said, "Since the quarrel is over, let's hurry up and see the goods. You are all big families. Stuff, there is no need to struggle for too long." Qin Gang snorted coldly, and said, "As long as this thing is really like what you said, it can adjust feng shui, calm and concentrate, I really don't care about the billion self." The fat man glanced at him before placing a simple wooden box on the table. Inside the box was a piece of red jade glowing with blood, with an old style. As soon as it was taken out, everyone felt that the hall was filled with a warm atmosphere. The eyes of Qin Gang suddenly lit up. Warnya turned around and asked Elder Qi, "Old Qi, what do you think of this jade?" Elder Qi stared for a moment and nodded, "It should be no problem. It is a jade from before the Thompson dynasty, and at first glance, it can be seen that a good monk has cultivated it for a long time." Warnya nodded, then turned to ask Charlie, "What do you think of it, Mr. Charlie?" Charlie curled his mouth in disdain and said, "Fake." Old Qi snorted and scolded, "You are so young, who gave you the courage to slander in front of so many people?" The old master Guoming beside Taylor also opened his eyes, looked, and asked, "Can I get started?" The fat man sneered disdainfully and said, "Mr. Guo, are you kidding me? You don't understand jade? Normal jade can't be passed. My piece is jade from the Zhou dynasty." Guoming was stunned for a moment before he said, "I was abrupt." After all, he also got to the edge of the ancient jade and watched it carefully. After a while, he closed his eyes again, and after a long time, he nodded and said, "If this jade is from the Zhou dynasty, I don't know, but it adjusts the feng shui and calms the mind. It should be real." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's hearts were instantly heated. For them, it doesn't really matter what history the jade has. The important thing is what role the jade has. Old Qi smiled and said, "Old Guo is also a discerning person, not like those who are incapable and pretentious." When Warnya heard this, she couldn't help but feel a little disappointed in Charlie. It seems that he is still too young. Perhaps he has some accomplishments in the restoration of cultural relics, but he is still far behind these old people in the identification of antiques. When Charlie saw this, he just shook his head slightly. Since these people are willing to be fooled, there is no need to stop them. When the fat man saw that everyone had finished the appraisal, he closed the box and said with a smile, "Since the thing has been appraised, guys, is it time to make a price?" Before he could finish his words, Qin Gang took the lead and said, "I will pay 100 million. 130 million. Taylor also said. Seeing that Warnya was silent, the fat man asked, "Where is Ms. Song?" Seeing Warnya hesitated, Mr. Qi hurriedly whispered in her ear, "Miss, this is definitely a treasure. The estimated value should be around 300 million. If it can be won at 200 million, it will be a steady profit." Warnya was also a little shaken in her heart. She turned her head and glanced at Charlie, only to see that the other party looked indifferent, not sad or happy, and she couldn't help but hesitate. Old Qi glanced at Charlie with a cold look. Knowing that Warnya was affected by Charlie, she didn't ask for a price. He said, "Just now, Mr. Charlie said that this ancient jade is fake. I really want to know how he came to the conclusion. Let us also see Mr. Charlie's methods. If Charlie talks nonsense later, Warnia will naturally know that Charlie's words are false, and then she will feel relieved to bid." Others contemptuously said, "He knows what a little boy, don't be ashamed of coming up. Yes, how can it be his turn to speak here? If you don't want to buy it, don't waste everyone's time." Listening to everyone's ridicule, Charlie just stared at Old Chi with interest, and asked indifferently, "Are you sure you want me to tell?" "Of course. Just say it." Old Chi sneered and said, "I also want to see how you liars usually deceive people." Charlie shrugged and said, "I didn't really want to expose your scam, but I can't refuse you repeatedly asking for it." "A scam? Boy, you mean, did we all miss it?" Guo Ming, who had been calm, said with a sneer. Charlie glanced at him and said with a sneer, "You are the most stupid here in particular, boy, you are looking for death." Guo Ming was furious. Charlie ignored him and said, "Jade is true jade, you liar, have a conscience." Then he said, "But this jade is not a jade of the Zhou dynasty, and there is no good monk who has raised it personally. It is nothing more than a piece of fine topaz from Hishan. It has a good texture, but it has some value. The price is at most 500,000. Can't you see that the jade is red?" Chi Lao scolded. Charlie continued, "The red color is due to the erosion of the manganese ore containing sub-manganate. Don't you really think it was blood soaked in the corpse of some eminent monk? Then what about the warm atmosphere we feel?" Qin Gang frowned and asked eagerly. Charlie shook his head and said, "This thing is even less technical. The grass from Africa, the rhizome is ground into a powder and dissolved in water. Soaking this jade in water for about half a year will naturally have this effect. It's not a warm atmosphere. It's a psychedelic effect. It's easy to remove it. Just burn the piece of jade with fire." "Boy! How dare you say crazy words?" Hearing the words, the fat man patted the table and stood up. Taylor turned dark, looked at the fat man, and said, "Take the jade out for a while." The fat man was sweating profusely and said, "What is too hot? This kid is obviously pretending to be a deceit, don't listen to his nonsense." Qin Gang tapped his finger on the desktop and said, "After the fire, if the effect is still there, I will pay for it, but if the effect is gone, the consequences, you know, although our Qin family has recently encountered something, it is not let others ride on the head." Warnia also nodded and said, "If Mr. Charlie is wrong, it doesn't matter if you go too far. Jade will not burn, but if Mr. Charlie is right, you have to give us an explanation today." The fat man suddenly sweated profusely. Of these three, none of them can be offended by him. The reason why this round was made was entirely because of Chi Lao inside and outside, wanting to cheat Warnia a sum of money, and then share the spoils. Unexpectedly, a Charlie would kill it halfway, and all the mysteries in it would be revealed in one word. Actually, Charlie didn't know jade before. The reason for being able to see through this jade at a glance is entirely because of the 9 profound heavenly secrets. Don't know why. He just saw this piece of jade, and the answers have already appeared in his brain. It seems that this identification of antique jade is a skill in the 9 profound heaven scriptures. Seeing that the fat man didn't speak, Charlie suddenly sneered and said, "Why? Is your heart guilty? Don't care about talking." The fat man's face was blue and white, but he didn't say whether he wanted to go too far. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.